Here's the deal. Here's a fad I never want to see come back. You don't deserve ever, ever, ever to wear spandex. Never. Never. Look at the person next to you, say no spandex. Yo, that's one of the things. Friends, don't let friends wear spandex. Friends, remember that one. I got to do something. I need a little more energy tonight when I speak, and so we're going to do two things. Everyone say two things. So the first one, I need everyone stand up on your feet. Everyone stand up on your feet. Oh. All right, Chase, come on over here, man. I need a little volunteer. I want you to find a partner, and I want you to grab their hand, and I want you to keep this pointer finger up. Pointer finger up. All right, this is a little game we call Star Wars. You got to keep your front foot planted. You're trying to take that finger, and whoever pokes the other person first is the winner. But you cannot unlink hands. Ready, set, go. It's a fun game. Come on, get someone. Get him! All right, take your seat. Come on. Yeah. How many people you won? Who won? Who's a Star Wars champ? That's what I'm talking about. All right, here's the other thing I need. I like the energy. I need a little bit more. So here's what I'm going to need you guys to do. Everyone get your right hand and put it in the air. Just right here, not like up here, okay? Some of you are like, and waving like you just don't care. No, don't do that. That's just weird. Get your hand like right here, okay? Sometimes I just like to have a little soul. Everyone say soul. Soul. Yeah, that was good. Say it like you got some, like soul. That ain't soul. Say soul. Soul. Ooh, that was good. So here's what I need you to do. I need this hand to start just shaking a little bit. Put the hand up, okay? Put the hand up. That's all you got. Everyone shake your hand at me. I got a little swag. I don't know even what happened. I don't know, okay? So here's what I need. I'm going to yell the word well. Well. That's what I'm going to yell, like well. I'm going to yell it really loud. I'm going to rock back. I'm going to yell it and come forward. Keep your hands going. Come on. Come on, all you guys with Tourette's. Come on, keep them going. So I'm going to yell well. You're going to yell it back to me as loud as you can, just like I do it, okay? Get that hand waving. If the person next to you ain't waving, get your hand up. Okay, ready? Here we go. So it's going to go like this, and you repeat it after me. Ready? Here we go. It's like this. Shh. Ready? Well. Okay, not bad. Keep it going. Some of you are like, hey, that's fun. So hand do it. Okay, that was pretty good. That wasn't bad. But I need you to like rock back like you got some in you and then come forward and yell it as loud as you can. We're going to try it one more time. Everyone get your hand going. Get your hand even on this side. Ready? Ready? Here we go. Here we go. Well! Oh, that was dope right there. That was dope. All right. Now I need just my ladies to do it. Okay, we're going to try it. Or if my ladies are out there, say hey, hey, hey. Oh, the ladies are here tonight. All right, come on, keep it going. Keep it going. By the way, guys, this isn't a girl waving at you, by the way. You're like, hey, what's up? Okay. So ready, girls? Let's do it as loud as we can. Ready? Well! Oh, that was good. All right, my guys now. If my guys are out there, say, what's up? Well, that's it. I love hearing a junior high guy do that. What's up? Everyone knows your voice ain't that low. Okay, come on, get it going. Ready? Ready? My guys, as low as you can with a little bit of soul. Here we go. Well! Oh, that was good. Everyone together. Get it one last time. That's it. Front to the back. Even my people in the back. Even my old people in the back. Come on, get it going. Get it going. Ready? As loud as you can. Rock back. Shout it out. Ready? Here we go. Well! Oh, look at the person next to you. Say, that was good. Yo, how many people were at winter camp? Let me hear you shout if you're at winter camp. If you guys were at winter camp, you know what a ladies' man that I am. I told you a story about a girl that I had a crush on, and on the bus ride home, I punched her in the face. That ain't funny. I was off the bus for a month. That ain't funny. So I'm going to fast forward and let's vote. And if you want to hear another story about me being a ladies' man, let's just hear you shout. All right, let's fast forward to 8th grade. How many 8th graders are in the house? Sweet. How many people should still be in the 8th grade? No, I'm just kidding. You're like, I want to be back there. Okay, cool. So I was in the 8th grade, and I asked this girl to go out. Her name was Sarah Coldwater, but I promise you she was hot. I asked Sarah Coldwater to go out. She said yes. It was spring break. She invited me over to her house. I go over to her house, and we go there. Her parents were like a little less strict than my parents, and so we were allowed to watch a movie in her room. So being the 8th grade ladies man that I am, we got to select a film. And so I started to go through, and I don't know about you, but when I think romance and I think 8th grade, I think Disney. And I don't know the difference between Disney and Pixar, so don't yell at me if I get this wrong. I think love stories like Toy Story. Any Toy Story fans out there? I think of great movies. Anybody love Finding Nemo? Yeah. I think of one like The Little Mermaid. Look at this stuff. Isn't it sweet? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? You've seen the movie too. That's all the words I know. The girl who has everything. Okay, stop. You're not a mermaid, okay? So we got The Little Mermaid. I think of one of my other favorites, Aladdin. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Come on. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? Okay, good. You guys have seen that movie too. So, okay. By the way, everyone sings the first part really good, and then it's like, a whole new world. And you sound horrible. But here's the movie. We looked through it, and I can't believe that my man, during the tag today, Brandon Cameron brought up the movie that was on one of my first times with Sarah Coldwater. I picked out The Lion King. Any Lion King fans out there? I picked out The Lion King. It is a great story about Simba and Nala. And so we're in there. I want to set the stage for you. Sarah Coldwater and I are in there, and I am nervous because it's like one of my first times hanging out with a girl alone. I didn't know what to do, so I pulled the yawn trick. You know what I'm saying? Do it with me if you know what it is. Yo, get your hand off her, bro. What are you doing, man? This guy is awesome. No. So I pulled the arm trick. I put my arm around her. I was feeling pretty good about myself. I've got my arm around this girl. We're watching The Lion King, a romantic movie. Everything is going well. I'm watching Lion King, and we're getting to that point in the movie that is the romantic climax of the movie. And so it begins. Oh, you guys have seen the movie. Okay. And it's that when Simba and Nala are reunited and they're hanging out. And it's that one, and I'm looking, I got my arm around her, and the song comes on. Can you feel the love? And I was like, oh, I can feel it. I can feel it. And I'm watching the movie. I'm not crying yet, but I'm getting ready to cry to show her that I'm sensitive. That's just what I do. And so I'm getting ready for that. I'm watching the movie, and I notice something. Sarah's not watching the movie. She's watching me. She's looking at me, and I'm like, what? Girl, there's a movie, and she's looking right at me. Not only is she looking at me, she's getting closer. My heart is beating. My palms are, she's looking right over at me, and I realized at that moment, she's going to go in for the kiss. Hold. You don't know the end of the story. Hold on. She's coming in for the kiss. I don't know what to do. She's right here. Sarah Coldwater's lips are right here. Can you feel the love tonight in my other ear? And I don't know what to do. I freak. And so as God is my witness, Sarah Coldwater this close with her eyes closed, getting ready to kiss me, I go like this. The rest of the movie, I couldn't even watch because now I got to fake like I'm asleep. I'm sitting there like, you're so stupid. Everyone in school is going to hate you. You're so dumb. She broke up with me the next day. That's the end of the story. Yeah, that's the end of that story. So, guys, if you want a movie to end a relationship, I suggest The Lion King. That's the movie that I suggest. Go ahead, get that movie in. It will ruin any relationship that you actually have. How many people, be honest, how many people miss your parents right now? I do. Okay. How many people, you don't miss your parents at all? Yo, I got to tell you, I have a mom and you probably have a mom too. Here's the deal. Your mom probably went to the same mom school that my mom went to. I'm going to prove it to you. If you don't know this, you'll learn this later. Moms go to mom school to learn sayings like this. How many of your parents have some sayings you're like, where did you even come up with that? And okay, here's one for example. You're in an argument with your parents, your mom and dad, and they whip out this one. Because I said... Oh, yeah. See, our moms went to the same school. That one doesn't even... How about this one? Here's another line that I love. If everyone else jumped off a bridge... Okay, yeah, you got that one. How about this one? This one is one of my favorites. Next time your mom asks you that, I have a response from you. Has your mom ever said, were you born in a barn? Yes! I just want you to go back to her and go, no. Just to see what she does. You'd be like, well... Yeah. And how about this one? My dad would do this. He said, I'll turn this car around. I'm like, no, you won't. You got a week. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, my bad. He turned the car around. I'm like, Dad, no, you won't. You got a week vacation. You're not going to go ahead. And I want to tell you guys a secret because I value your life. Everyone lean in. Lean in. Lean in. Lean in. I got a secret for you, okay? Here's a question that you never, ever, 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 ever answer. Okay, never answer. I'm serious. I want to save your life. Okay, when your mom asks this question, never, ever answer it. Do I look stupid? Yes. Here's what I want you to do. See? You just fall asleep. You pretend like it didn't happen. But here's what your mom's trying to avoid. Your mom is trying to avoid you having dumb friends. Everyone say dumb friends. How many of you have a dumb friend? Raise your hand. Yo. I asked you to raise your hand, not point. Don't do it. And by the way, if you weren't raising the hand, guess what? You're probably... Anyway, I want to tell you, I like stories. I got to tell you a story. My mom tried to save me from one of my dumb friends. His name was Brent. Everyone say Brent. Brent and I went to college together, and Brent and I, we've been friends for about 10 years. Brent's one of my best friends in the world, but he's one of those dumb friends. You know, the one that's like, hey, let's see how fast you can go in a shopping cart into like a curb. Hey, let's see if you can skateboard behind my car. Let's see if you can chug a gallon of milk in 30 minutes. I mean, they're just dumb people like that. So here's the story of my dumb friend, Brent. Brent, one night, it was like January, and he went to play basketball at college. He came back from playing basketball, and we were on the 500 floor, and below us was the 400 floor. The 400 floor was on the ground, and it had windows that were on the ground. And on Friday nights, their whole floor would get together and they'd have like a meeting, they'd hang out, they'd even wrestle sometimes on the basement level. And you could walk by and see it because the windows were right there on the ground. So Brent, we just got done playing basketball and he's walking back into the dorms and sees all of these guys sitting there and he gets this bright idea like all dumb friends do. He's like, dude, let's go moon them. Let's go moon them. Now it is, so he gets this great idea, and so he starts to get ready for this idea to happen, okay? And so it is December, we have just gotten done playing basketball, and so Brent gets ready to moon them, and I want you to say these words after me. Hot buns, cold glass. So Brent goes over, and Brent does what he does, and the moment that say hot buns, touch the cold glass, it shatters. So he's over, his face was that face like if there was a squirrel there, he would have been like, oh, that's bad. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks, he runs as fast as he can away. He runs and he runs, and then we get to a point where we're far enough away, and he's like, dude, my backside hurts. And he's like, dude, look at my butt. I'm like, dude, I'm not looking at your butt. I mean, we're good friends, but I ain't going there. And so I was looking, so eventually I do it, and back in his backside is about a 6-inch piece of glass. So we do what any good friends do. We go back and get somebody with a video camera. You know what I'm talking about? And they're like, you got to go to the hospital, my man. He goes to the hospital, we film the whole thing. And here's the deal. I remember him checking in. The nurse like, what are you here for? He's like, don't worry about it. He's like, I just want to see a doctor. Like, what are you here for? Like, how can we help you? He's like, no, I just want to tell the doctor. I'm not going to tell you what's going on because I've got a shard of glass on my backside. And so Brent literally had 9 stitches in his rear end. Because, and see, those are the things that your mom wants to get you to actually try to avoid. But here's what I love about it. It is a great story. I love that story. I'll tell that story for the rest of my life. And I love being a part of a great story. Last night, I loved what Richard and David talked about. They talked about this story. And not only the story that like Jesus is writing and that you're writing with your life, but you know what? That there's going to be a new chapter or there's going to be a twist in that story. And I got to be real. If I can be real, say be real. I got to be real. We talked this morning in our leaders meeting about the response to last night's message. And you know what? It's been a long time, and a lot of us have been to a lot of camps, and we have not seen how ready you guys were to respond to what Jesus is doing in your life this week. And so tonight I was going to take it a little slow, but I'm going to keep the gas to the floor, and we're going to go somewhere tonight. If that's all right, say uh-huh. Say uh-huh. And so I don't know about you, but as you get to camp, you realize there's some people that might be in your cabin or in your tent that have some annoying habits. If you're with me, say, uh-huh. And it's one of those things where you just want to grab them and yell, stop. Grab the face of someone next to you and yell, stop. Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it? Feels good. All right, right back here. Now, here's some advice I want to offer you. Next time somebody's doing something really annoying, don't yell stop. Just get up behind them, right in their ear, and quietly whisper, stop. Dude, try it right now. It's really creepy. Do it. Yeah, that's creepy. That was creepy. Yeah, that was creepy. See what I'm talking about? It's a little bit more creepy to actually do that. But I got to tell you, when I was in high school, everyone listen, I got a funny story. Shh. When I was in high school, I had a guy that was in my cabin. He was a friend of mine, but he was really annoying, and he sang this song all week. And the song went like this. Amigo, amigo, we all go, amigo. How many people are annoyed by that song once? Yeah, I was too. I was like, I am over it. And so he was singing this song over and over, and there was one moment when I'm like, I have had enough. You need to stop. And I don't know about you, have you ever been so mad that you're like so ticked, you're like looking for something to throw? You're like, I'm mad at you, and if you give me 5 seconds, I'm getting my shoelace off and I'm strangling you. Or you're like, you grab a piece of paper and you throw it at him. And so here's what I did. I looked around at what I had, and I kicked off one of my sandals. And I took the sandal, and I thought of the story of David and Goliath in the Bible. And I took that sandal from across my cabin, I threw it as hard as I could at him. And God himself entered the room, and he guided that sandal straight into my friend's nose. And he had a bloody nose, and I felt bad for 1 second. The next second, I realized he stopped singing. God answers prayers. If you believe it, say, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. That was the way that God answered my prayer at a summer camp. But here's what I love about summer camps. Here's what I love about what you're doing right now. Everyone key in on me. Everyone listen right now. Here's what I love about a summer camp. It gives you an opportunity to kind of take a time out. It gives you to take a time out to press the pause button on the things that you normally do back home and to kind of come here and to take inventory of maybe the story that you're writing, to maybe take inventory of the things that are going on in your heart and in your life. It changes your schedule. It changes what you're normally doing. And it's a great opportunity to go, okay, God, if you want to speak to me, I'm taking a time out from my life. And I want to hear if you actually want to say something to my life. And so that's what I love about this time at camp. And so I don't know where you're at with God. I don't know where you're at with Jesus. Wherever you're at is okay. But what our challenge, especially from last night, is to take that next step, to lean in maybe just a little bit more. And it reminds me of the verse that you'll hear every night this week, and it's Hebrews 12. And it says this, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. I'm going to say that again. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus. And maybe when I say something that simple, you think to yourself, man, I already know that my eyes are fixed on the wrong thing. I know that my focus is not there. And maybe this week would be a time in which you go, okay, I'm going to get my focus right. I'm going to fix my eyes on the things that actually matter. And then, the other statement that we'll hear and you'll hear over and over again, which if you're a note taker, which I encourage you to be, write this down someplace that you have it. And it's the line that says, direction, not intention, determines your destination. Direction, not intention, determines your destination. And so here's what I want you to do. We talked about this last night, but I want you to think about fast forwarding your life 10 years from now. And with the decisions and the direction that you're heading, where will you end up? With the decisions you're making right now, if we were to take a peek into the future, where are those going to lead you? And I have some advice for you right now. I've been able, and your leaders have been able to live enough life to understand a basic concept like this. So listen in really quickly. Here's the deal. Some of the things that make you cool and popular make you homeless at 40. Some of the things that get approval of your friends or that people say that you should do at this age or that you give into, when you fast forward your life, those are things that end up in consequences and in dead-end kind of lifestyles. And so tonight, here's what I want to do. I want to keep it super simple. Sometimes I think we complicate God. We think I've got to get everything right before I come to God. I'm a little messed up. I'm a little screwed up. I'm not perfect. So God, I can't come to you until I get that right. And tonight I want to keep it as simple as we possibly can. You don't need to have your life right to come to Jesus. You don't need to have everything in order before you come to God. And so wherever you're at tonight, I would encourage you of taking that next step and being simply going closer to Jesus. And so tonight my big idea is this. I decided to stop. Tonight my big idea is this. I decided to stop. It's a simple concept. In order to live a great story, there are some things in your life that you'll have to stop. And so tonight, what I'm going to talk about based on, there's a story we're going to read here in just a minute, is the concept of I decided to stop. And we're going to pick up this story. Jesus is literally one of the greatest storytellers of all time. And the great thing about Jesus is the stories that he told in the Bible, he's still writing stories today. There's students right here and leaders right here that God has rewritten their story in an amazing way, that they've made choices where they've decided to stop and Jesus has rewritten their story. I want to tell you this, your story becomes the best it can be with Jesus as the author. Your story is going to be the greatest story when you let Jesus be the author. When you say, all right, I'm not going to write my own story, but I'm going to give the pen to you, Jesus. I'm going to follow you. You write my story. Those are the greatest stories that are ever told. And we're going to pick up this story tonight in Luke 15. Luke 15:11. It's going to be on the Sky Bible next to me. That's what I call these screens. Everyone say Sky Bible. So Luke 15:11 says like this. To illustrate the point further, Jesus told him this story. A man had 2 sons. Everyone say 2. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his son. A few days later, this younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there he wasted. Everyone say wasted. He wasted all of his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding to the pigs looked good to him. Everyone say gross. but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I will go to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against heaven and you. I'm no longer of worthy being called your son. Please take me as your hired servant. We look at a story here, and it wasn't his intention, but it was his directions that determined his destination. This wasn't what he wanted to do. This wasn't the dream that he had in his mind, but his actions and what he was doing determined a different direction that his life went. And how many of you know that if you envy the pig, that the food that pigs are being fed, something has gone terribly wrong? And so students, I want you to know I've only got about 15 to 10 minutes left. And so I want to challenge you with this. Don't miss the next 15 to 20 minutes that might change the next 20 years of your life. Right now, I want to be honest with you. We're in an outdoor gathering. There's distractions all around you. But God might want to speak something to change your eternal destiny in the next 20 minutes, and don't miss it because there's a distraction. Everyone put your hand over your heart. Let's pray. Jesus, would you speak to us? Would you show us the areas in our life that we need to stop? God, would you show us those things so we can have you, the great author, write a great story with our life in Jesus' name? And everyone said, it's a big deal. Oh, praise the Lord. Yes. Okay. I gotta be honest with you. Like I said, with the big idea that we're talking about tonight, that there's some things that you're going to have to stop in your life if you want to go the direction that Jesus has for you. And I think that we can talk about two different specific areas tonight in which you need to stop something in order to follow Jesus with all of your life and with all of your heart. And I think they kind of go into two different categories. And the first one I want to talk about tonight is external. The first one I want to talk about is one that's going on the outside. That tonight, when I say that thing of I decide to stop, you think of a habit that you have in your life. You think of something that's going on in your life right now, and it comes to your mind. And maybe tonight, students, you're dealing with something, and you know that it's a habit that you have that is leading to destructive places in your life because you've already seen it. And so I don't know what it is, but I know that you do, and I know that God does. And so I don't know, maybe it's anger for you. Maybe you struggle so much with anger on the outside, and you have outbursts and you just can't control it. And it's just one of those things that you don't know when it started, but all you know is that you can't stop it. And anger has controlled your life. And anger has led to consequences and broken relationships in your life. And that's something that's going to continue unless you make the decision to stop. I don't know, maybe for you tonight, it's relationships. Maybe right now when I say I've decided to stop, you think of a relationship that you have in your life that you know is not what Jesus wants for your life. Maybe it's a relationship with the opposite sex, and you know that you are sinning in that relationship. You know that lust is in your life, and you know that you're continuing in that relationship. And I want to tell you this. The Bible talks specifically about sins in the relationships and sexual relationships that we have. And it says this. It says all other sins we commit are outside the body, but he who sins sexually sins against his own body. And I'll tell you what, if you have a habit or you have something in your life with sexual sin, I promise you it will lead you down a road of consequence, and it will lead you down a place and to areas that you don't want to go in your life. And so maybe that's a habit tonight that you need to say, I'm going to decide to stop. For many of us here, and even my leaders here tonight, maybe it's the way that you talk. Maybe you have a habit with your mouth. And the Bible is so specific about our words that we use. It says this in Proverbs. It says our tongue has the power of life and death. It doesn't say that, oh, it's not a big deal. It doesn't say don't worry about it, that the words don't matter. It says that your words have the power of life and death. James 3 talks about it like this. It says a whole forest can be lit on fire by one single spark, and that spark is your tongue. And so maybe you have trouble with your language. Maybe it's not language for you. Maybe it's gossip. Gossip can destroy lives quicker than anything else. And so maybe you have a gossip issue, and maybe you talk about other people and you talk behind other people's back, and maybe you even do it in the name of, oh, we need to pray for them. Or maybe you even do it in the name of saying, I'm just saying this because I'm concerned. But what God says about it is he says that he hates a gossip. And so that might be a habit that I believe can destroy you and destroy the relationships around you quicker than maybe anything else. And so maybe tonight you have a lying tongue. And you don't know why, but you just start with a little lie, and then you've got a lie to get out of that one, and then you lie another, and then you find yourself lying to everyone in you and surrounded by this facade and surrounded by this life that you didn't even want. But you just keep lying and lying to your parents and lying to your friends and lying to teachers. And it's the way that you talk, and it's your mouth, and it's the habit of your tongue that you have that you need to change. Maybe tonight there's an addiction. Maybe you have an addiction in your life. And so when I say those words, I decided to stop, you immediately know I have an addiction. It might be to prescription pills. You might have an addiction to illegal drugs. You might have an addiction to alcohol or to cigarettes. You might have this addiction when I say, I've decided to stop. You think of that habit that you have in your life and you're like, I know that's the one that is keeping me from following Jesus with all my heart. And I have that habit in my life, and I know that that's the one thing that's keeping me from that. And then there's this one. This one I've seen a lot, and I got to be real with you. I just have to. I wouldn't feel right if I didn't say this. Another one is laziness. It's laziness. I see a lot of people, and the reason why they're not following Jesus with all their heart is that simple reason, is because they are lazy. And they waffle back and forth in their relationship with God. And like David talked about last night, they've got one foot in with God and they've got one foot over here because of laziness. Because there's not enough discipline in your life to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to stop the laziness. I'm going to be disciplined in my relationship with God. And as he writes my story, I'm going to follow him with everything that I have. With everything on the outside, though, and all the external ones I talked about, I think there's something going on the inside. I think God's really cool, and I get to share a great story with you. On Friday, I had the opportunity to go out with one of my youth leaders to coffee. He had no idea that I was speaking here tonight. He had no idea what topic I was going to speak on at camp in front of you guys tonight. And we began to talk. And we just began to talk about life and talk about youth and talk about his role in serving. And then he said, hey, Ryan, is it all right if I tell you part of my story? And he started to uncover this story to me. And he's a 21-year-old man, but he went back to when he was a 17-year-old student. And he started to tell me how he doesn't know why, he doesn't know when, he doesn't even know how it happened. But at 17, he started making decisions and having habits in his life that led him down a place he didn't want to go. And this was a young kid that at 17, he started messing around with alcohol. And then alcohol wasn't enough, and so he went from alcohol to prescription pills. And then that wasn't enough, and so he started messing around with illegal drugs. And that wasn't enough, so he took those prescription pills, and he would ground them up, he would snort them, and then he'd walk in and play on the worship team. Oh, you didn't think I was talking about a church kid, did you? And he began to have his life just spiral out of control because he had these habits in his life that he never stopped. He had these ways of thinking and this anger in his life and these things in his life. And he went down this road that he never wanted to. And he was filled with anger and not filled with purpose and not filled with joy and filled with depression. And it ended up that he ended up spending a little bit of time in jail because of the decisions he was making, because he didn't stop them at any time along the way. And so he remembers time at which he would go to a party and he would drink and he would do drugs. And not that he was trying to kill himself, but he really didn't care if he didn't wake up the next morning. And when he woke up, he'd say, I guess I'm awake for another day. And so this was the life that he began to live for about 4 years. For 4 years, he was involved in this lifestyle. And it was all the way up until February of this year. And in February of this year, he was driving home from his temporary job. And here's what he thought. He fast-forwarded his life 10 years. He fast-forwarded the decisions he was making 10 years, and he saw what his life looked like. And he saw a lot of pain for some younger siblings that were looking up to him. He saw a lot of pain for his parents that he was continually letting down. He saw no hope. He saw no joy. He saw no purpose. And he said these words to me on Friday in a coffee shop, having no idea I'd be standing on this stage tonight. He said, Ryan, I was driving home from work, and it was as if God came into the truck with me, and I made the decision, and he said, I decided to stop. And I'm proud to tell you that in March of this year, as of March till this current day, he is clean and sober from all of those drugs. Come on. He's clean and sober from those, and I am more proud of this young man than anybody else because he's told his story. And maybe you hear that story tonight and you go, I can identify with that story. I'm going down that road right now, but I want to stop tonight. And I'm proud to tell you he's one of our youth leaders. I love him. He's beginning to lead the next generation to Jesus so they don't make the same mistakes that he did. But he had to come to that place where he goes, I've decided to stop. Here's the thing I realized as he told me his story. All the things he had going on outside, there was more stuff going on inside. And so the second part I want to talk to you about is those things that are going on internally. And they're more dangerous than the ones on the outside. Students, I got to be real with you again. It's easy to wear a mask. And I know a lot of us, I know I've done it from time to time too. We put on the right mask in the right situation so nobody will think there's anything going on beneath the surface. And so when you come to camp, you say the right things, you look the right part. But if we were to take a look and peel back the layers and see what's going on in your heart, we would see a story that is not following Jesus. We would see a story in which you need to make that decision tonight, go, I decided to stop. And there's some different ways of thinking that I want to talk about that I know are going on in some of us. And the first one is this: it's my fault. There's some of you in here tonight at camp that, here's the deal, you have had something happen to you and you think it's your fault. I don't know what it is. Maybe something happened, your parents got divorced and you can't get over it and you think that it's your fault. And so every time there's a failure around you, you say it's my fault. Every time something goes on, you say it's my fault. And so over and over and over and over again, you feel like a failure. You feel like you're not good enough. You feel like there's nothing that you can do and everything is your fault. And you're not going to actually say that to anybody, but it's always going on inside of here. And you're constantly saying that to yourself. It's my fault. I'm not good enough. My bad. I'm going to always be a failure. And I want you to know tonight is the night, with the help of Jesus, that you can stop that way of thinking. The next one is this. The next one is I'm not good enough. The next one is I'm not good enough. There's many of you tonight who are thinking no one cares. No one cares about me. I'm not good enough for people to care. I don't wear the right clothes. I don't come from the right family. I don't say the right things. Nobody cares about me. And maybe tonight if there were to be a whiteboard up here somewhere, you would see words that have been said to you. And you would hear words in your life, and even though you didn't want them to start define you, they began to define you. As people have said those things to you over and over again, you began to take them on even as your identity. Maybe tonight there's other people in here and you'd say, I'm so angry. I've been able to talk to a lot of young men in ministry. And there's a lot of them that are struggling with an inside anger and they don't know why. They don't even know what the source of it is. They just know that they're angry. And they're always like 3 seconds away just from a blow up. Just because of the way that they're thinking. And there's things going on inside of them that they just don't know what to do with. And the last one that I was thinking of, and I feel like this one is super important. Maybe there's people in here tonight and you take your own value by what other people think of you. And so I thought of this thought and I loved it. And if you're taking notes, write this down. If you live for other people's approval, you'll die from their rejection. If you're in here tonight, and I know it's so difficult to do, but you're living for the approval of other people. You're going around basically saying, please approve of me. Please tell me I'm good enough. Please tell me I'm pretty enough. Please tell me I'm cool enough. If you live for their approval, you will die from their rejection. And I want you to understand this concept, student. You are a creation. You have a creator. His name is God. He created you with all the love that he has. And he looks on you as his creation who is dearly loved. And so instead of looking to our creator, many times we look to other creations and say, tell me I'm valuable. Tell me as another creation that I'm valuable. When we cannot look to another creation to give us value, the only place we can do that is look to our creator, God. And so maybe that's you tonight. Maybe you seek that approval from other people. And when you don't have that approval, you don't know what to do with yourself. And so you live for their approval, but you'll die from their rejection. I want to go back to the story that I opened up with Luke 15. It's going to be back up on the screens. We stopped in the middle of the story. We stopped right when there's the twist, right when there is the turn. And it's the spot, students, listen to me, that I feel many of you are at tonight. We see the story that this young man said, I'm going to take everything, I'm going to go spend it. And he gets it and he lives the life he wants to. He writes his own story. He takes the pen and he starts writing what he wants to write. He wants to be important and to be flashy and to be popular and have friends and do all of these things. And we get to the point, to the twist in the story, which I believe many of you are at tonight, where he comes to his senses and he goes, I've decided to stop. Let's pick it up right here, Luke 15:20. So he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, Father, I've sinned against you. I've sinned against both heaven and you, and I'm no longer of being called your son. But his father said to the servants, Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet, and kill the calf we've been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead, and now he's returned to life. He was lost, but now he's found. So the party began. Tonight it is time for the party to begin for many of your lives. I love this story. Here, students, hear me on this. I want you to understand this. In that last verse, here's what it says. It says, my son was dead, and now he's coming to life. He didn't say my son was bad, and now he's becoming good, because Jesus didn't come to make bad people good. He came to bring life to things that are dead. And in the life that you're living, and those habits and those internal and external things we talked about, that is a dead way of lifestyle. It says sin, when it's full grown, gives birth to death. That lifestyle leads to death. And Jesus is coming to rewrite your story. When you come to that moment and say, I've decided to stop, he rewrites your story to bring something that was dead and make it alive. The band's going to come back up. And I want us to respond here tonight. And I want to share a story before we respond. And it's a story about a young man by the name of Kevin Berthea. It's a story about a man named Kevin Berthea. And Kevin Berthea was a 22-year-old guy. He lived in San Francisco, and he wasn't living a very good life. The life that he was living was not a good story. He was writing his own story, and he had habits, and he had internal and external things going on in his life that were leading him down a road of destruction. And so Kevin, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know where to turn, and he thought that he didn't have the ability or the power to stop it. And so here's what Kevin decided to do. A 22-year-old guy making wrong decisions. He was on drugs. He was sometimes living on the street, sometimes still living at home with his mother. He saw that there was no way out because he had these habits and he had these decisions that he'd made in his life. And so he made the decision that he was going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge. He was going to step on the other side of the rail, and he was going to go ahead and end his life. And so he makes that journey, and he goes all the way down to that bridge. He walks halfway across it, and he goes ahead and he starts to do what he's going to do. He steps over the rail. And he steps over, and he's standing there 746 feet off of the ground, thinking that there's no way out, thinking that there's no hope, thinking that the decisions that he's making, there's no way he can stop. There's nothing that he can do. And so as he's standing there, and he's getting ready to jump, the story goes right before he jumps, he literally hears a voice in his ear say, stop. A voice says, stop. He doesn't turn around, but over the next 45 minutes, he talks to Officer Kevin Briggs. And they just talk. And after 45 minutes of discussing with his life, just standing there right in the balance of him ready to leap to his death, he decides to stop and to climb back over the rail and to give it a second chance, to give it a third chance, to give it a fourth chance, to give it another chance. And so in that moment when he got there, he made that decision to stop. Maybe that's you tonight. Maybe you're standing on the edge of a big decision, and you're like, I've been angry for a long time. I'm never going to break this habit. I'm going to jump into it. Maybe you'll think this. Maybe you think, I haven't been pretty, thought I've been pretty for a long time. And so I'm going to continue in relationship after relationship with each guy that tells me I'm pretty. I'm going to jump in to that. Maybe you've got a way of thinking, it's always my fault, I'll never be good enough. And you're literally standing on the edge saying, I'm going to jump into that. And students, honestly, maybe there's some of you that this week, you've had thoughts of actually jumping. Saying, I'm done, there's no hope. I don't want to live anymore. I'm going to jump. I'm done. And tonight, students, I want you to imagine wherever you're at in your life, if you're on that edge, I want you to imagine that literally the voice of God comes behind you and says, stop. Would you bow your heads with me? God, I know there's areas in my life when I'm on the edge. God, tonight I want to hear your voice that whispers behind me, stop. Stop. There's hope, there's love, there's joy. Stop. God, I pray that every student here tonight would hear that same voice. Literally the voice of God speaking into their ear and speaking into their life. Stop. I've got a better story. I've got a greater story. Stop. Students, right now, I want you just to think of that one thing. There might be more than one, but I want you to think of one right now. That as God whispers in your ear, stop. You know exactly what he's talking about. Students, I know many of you are thinking this. Many of you are thinking, I can't stop. I've tried and I've failed. I've tried and I've failed. I've tried and I've failed. And the fact of the matter is, you can't stop. Without the help of God, without the help of Jesus rewriting your story, you cannot stop on your own. But the great news is this. There's a God who lives inside of you, who has empowered you to live and given you the strength you need day to day to stop. And so if you're struggling with those thoughts of I can't, I've tried and I can't, I want you to know there is a God who is for you. And if we look at that story, I love the reaction of the Father in that story. And students, I want to change your perspective of God right now. And have that perspective be that there's a God who loves you. He's waiting for you. He's not mad at you. And when you make that decision to stop, he's right there to take you into his arms, to take you into his embrace. Would you stand with me? I may be weak. I may be weak. I love this song that we're going to sing as a response. And maybe that's where you're at tonight, where you're like, I want to stop, but I'm not sure how. I love the words of this song. It's one of my favorites. It says, I may be weak, but your spirit's strong in me. And I believe as we begin to sing this song as a response, that God will begin to give you that strength to stop. He'll begin to give you that strength in your life. He'll begin to do that through you as we sing this song in response. Let's sing it together.